If you just turned 18, then you need to watch this. Welcome to my channel. I haven't actually posted on this account in years, right? Since about maybe 2022, I think 2022, early 2022, like January 2022, that was the last time I posted on this account. But I wanted to make this dedicated towards people who are trying to get to the next level. Maybe you're lost, especially people who just turned 18, graduating high school, or maybe that you are in your last year of high school or about to go to high school, or maybe about to go to your senior year of high school, right? This is for all of y'all. I just want to kind of give you some advice on what you need to do in order to be ahead of your age group, right? Because me growing up, I've always focused on how can I be better than the average person in my age group, right? Just because of the fact that I guess, growing up, I got bullied a lot, right? And I guess kind of I see people like Andrew Tate talking about how bully helps. I don't agree with that. But in my case, it kind of did, right? Because the stuff I got bullied for, like, for example, I was born in Africa, so I got bullied for being dark skinned. I got bullied for, having no money. I got bullied for wearing baggy clothes, not dressing and fitting in with like everybody else, right? And that all motivated me. So as soon as I turned 15 years old, I'm like, man, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna do this, da da da. And then I remember I started doing some side hustles. I started working hard, got my first job. I started dressing nice and stuff like that. I eventually, started doing it for myself, but it originally did, I guess, honestly start from that drive, right? So the people that bully me, thank you. All right, y'all made me a better version of myself, honestly, right? So I've always had, a crazy drive to always want to make more money. Like even when I was like 5 years old, I was in Africa selling birds and snakes. And that's what I was doing at that age, selling candy, all type of stuff like that, right? But, fast forward at 15 years old, got my first job, started doing side hustles and stuff like that, making a little bit extra money. I used that money to buy the designer clothes, right? The Gucci bag, the Ferragamo belts, right? The Louis belts, right? The Fendi belts, all of those things. So in that case, I guess in a way it did kind of help me, right? But there's a lot of things that a lot of people are not gonna tell you when you're around the age of 18 years old that I wanna kind of let you know in this video, right? Like a few things, like as soon as you turn 18, you should be getting a credit card, right? Now start building your credit. If you get approved for a credit card, that's great. If you don't get approved for a credit card, there's still ways around it. But hear me out, because people are like, hey, I mean, if you're a beginner, you might be like, what is credit? What's a credit card, right? But other people be telling me when I first started saying, hey, get a credit card as soon as you turn 18, they're like, yo, why are you telling kids to get a credit card? Yo, when I turned 18, I got my first credit card at 18 years old. I'm about to explain the importance of this, right? So with credit cards, essentially helps you build something called your credit. And that's like think of it as your report card for the real world, right? Your credit is something called a credit report, which is just a credit report card, right? So in the real world, you need credit in order to buy a house, rent a house, or even some jobs, they require you to have a good credit score in order to get a raise, right? So if you want to ever move out of your parents' apartment, your parents' house, if you ever want to have your own car that was not co-signed or bought in the name of your parents, right? You ever want to own something like for yourself, you want to be an actual man and own stuff for yourself and prepare for your future, with your wife and kids, or, future family, whatever you want to do in the future, you need this tool called credit, right? You can leverage it. You can literally get, instead of trying to save, hey, let me save $10,000 with credit. You can literally go to the bank and get $10,000 approved just like that without having to pay that back for a year. Now, I'm going to break down the importance of all of this, right? So once again, with credit, you need it to buy a house, right? Whether you like it or not, unless you're gonna pay $100,000 cash for that house, you're gonna need that, right? And even in some cases, if you have a bad credit score, you can get approved. Or you have no credit score, you can get approved for something, but they'll give you something called a high interest rate, right? Now I want to break this down to beginners. So if you know all this stuff, I'll probably leave some timestamps in the bottom so you can skip to the part that you want, right? But what you call it? Interest rate is simply like, think of an interest rate. Like, hey, for example, like you ask me, like, hey, yo, Sharif, that's my name, Sharif. I want to borrow $100 from you. I'm like, all right, I'll give you $100, but for every single week that you don't pay that $100 back, you like say for you like, hey, I want to borrow $100 for a week. For every week that you don't pay past that time that you say you pay it back, I will charge you interest. Or if I'm saying, hey, I'll give you this $100, but for every single day that you haven't paid it back to me, I will charge you interest. So I'll charge you a fee. Like I'll charge you $1 for every single day that you don't pay me that money back, right? So you take it out today, right? A week from now, and guess what? You owe me $7 in addition to that $100. 2 weeks from now, you owe me $14, right? And it adds up every single day, every single month, right? And that's interest, right? So the higher your interest percentage and the higher your loan amount, the more money you're gonna end up paying. For example, if you want to get a mortgage, your parents don't own that house that you're living in 9 times out of 10, right? Maybe your grandparents might own the house, right? Or may own their house, but your parents are not gonna, be owning that house because it takes typically people get 30-year mortgage. I mean, your parents have 30 years to pay off that house that you currently live in, right? That's if they're even buying that house, right? Not let alone renting. If they're renting, that means somebody else has that house and paying their mortgage off, and your parents is paying that person $2,000 a month, and that person is paying the bank $1,500 a month and profiting extra $500 a month for you to stay in their house, right? But yeah, your parents do not own the house. You don't technically own it. The bank owns it until you pay off that full amount, right? But everybody, especially the U.S., they run off credit. I know they use credit in the U.K., Canada, and all this stuff, but as far as I know, I'm in the U.S., that's where they primarily use credit for, right? So inside the U.S., nobody really owns anything, and there's nothing wrong with that because the wealthiest people don't mean to own anything, right? Because this economy, this world runs off credit. This state, this country runs off credit, I should say, and runs off debt, preferably debt, right? Like if you was to look at how much the U.S. owes, we are in trillions of dollars of debt, right? Maybe even more. Right? I don't even know. Maybe sextillions, right? I don't even know, but yeah, it's off debt, right? There's good debt and bad debt, right? Now, I'm not gonna get too in depth about good debt and bad debt. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to go more in depth about that, right? But I'm going off on a tangent here, right? So your parents had to go to the bank and show them their credit score, right? So the banks run your parents' credit to see, hey, if this person, can we trust this person? Because your credit essentially is the trust, like the banks use your credit score to determine the amount of trust they have with you, right? They should give you because they don't know you, right? If you come up to me right now, like, hey, let me borrow $100, bro, I don't know you, right? I don't know you, but if there was a way I can actually look at a report of yours and say, hey, this person has paid this many people back, right? So that's essentially how it is, right? Because with credit, the bank can essentially look at it and say, hey, this person has paid this person, this person, this person, this company, this company, this company. So we should trust them, right? They just use that to trust you more. And you know what? Instead of charging them a 10%, we should give them a 2% interest rate, right? Now that for a house, something like a house or a car is or if it's for a house, hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference for getting a 10% versus getting a 2% is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that means you literally get this thing at a discount more than your other person did, right? So that means if you start building your credit now, you could literally be able to have good credit score within the next year or two and be able to buy your first house at a super young age. I bought my first house at 20 years old. Why? Because I started building credit at 18 years old. Right, I'll be able to rent a house at 18 or even 19 years old if I wanted to. Right, not saying you should, but this is you can't escape it. Right, so the bank can look at your credit and then say, hey, we can trust this person because of this number right here and this credit report. Right, we can look at that and know because anytime you miss a payment to a bank with your credit card or any other things you have financed, they will put on your credit report. So that will be on there for years to come, about 7 years to be exact, right? So all these banks know, hey, this person stopped paying this person this year, right? These months, this how many months they missed the payment. You don't want to do that, right? So yeah, if you was to come up to me asking for money, how am I supposed to know I should give you the money, right? But if I was to look at your trust, right, the trust that you've built with other people, like, hey, ask this person essentially, hey, have you this person lent money from you? Yeah, did he pay you back? Yeah, he paid you back. Yeah, like right off bat, he wasn't late. He was never late. I'm okay. I'm gonna trust you more, and I'm more likely to give you that money. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what credit is essentially, right, how it works. So with a credit card, the bank will give you money, right? So they say, for example, like you go to the bank, like, hey, I want a credit card. They approve you. They look at your credit score, like, hey, okay, I'm gonna approve you with a $1,000 credit limit, right? So you get the $1,000 credit card. Now you have $1,000 on this credit card, but you have to pay it back every time you actually use it, right? So they give you essentially 30 days to pay it back, right? So it's like you have the same due date every single month, right? So if you start using it, you have to pay it back on that due date. But if you have to look at your statement due date, right? You want to look at your due date as soon as you get the card. It's gonna be in the letter or it's gonna be through your online portal. You go there and you want to make sure you know the due date, because say for example the due date is the 25th. You just got the card like 2 weeks ago. Guess what? You have to pay the card in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you want to make sure you know that due date. That's when it needs to be paid off in full by the end of the month, or whatever that due date is. It might be the beginning of the month. It might be the end of the month. It might even be in the middle of the month. You can't always call them and change that date to what other dates they have, but that's typically how it's gonna look, right? So you're gonna get the credit card from the bank, which if you're a beginner, I highly recommend you go to Capital One, Discover, or any of these major companies to get a credit card. Right now, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna approve you with your first credit card. They're gonna give you a secure credit card option, which means they need some type of collateral, right? What that means is, hey, we don't know you don't have any credit, because before you have any credit card, anything in your name, you need before you have any of that, is blank. Right, it's blank. Your credit is blank. You've never had anything credit history. It's blank. There's nothing there. As soon as you start building it, your report might show, if you use like a Credit Karma or something like that, your credit might show, hey, it's a 3-4. Ignore that. Right, after it uploads, it's gonna be at a 300, 400, 500, 600. Right, it might start off as like in the sixes. Right, that's typically what mine starts, and that's where I know a lot of people there start around the sixes. Right, if you have some good positive accounts in your credit report, so it starts off in the sixes. Right, and the lowest you can get to is 300. The highest you can get to is 580. Right, I don't know why those ranges. I really don't know, but that's it, 300 to 580. Right, so you're gonna be starting off at 600. The higher it is, the less you pay in interest, and the more banks are likely to lend you money. Right, so you start off, you get the credit card. They say, hey, you don't have any credit history, so we need some collateral. Give us $200. You're gonna put in this credit card. You're gonna use it every single month. As soon as you use the credit card, you have to pay it back off, right? So you don't have to pay it off every single time you use it. You can just do it once a month. As long as you do it before the due date, you're good to go, right? Now, some credit cards offer a sign-up bonus, right? So that means, hey, you get this credit card, we're gonna give you an additional $200 once you spend this much money on it, right? Now, if you're already gonna spend that amount of money, use the credit card, right? I always recommend you stay below 30%, but as long as you know you're going to actually pay it off, then do it. Because the thing is, a lot of people spend the credit card in a way that they're spending money that they don't have. If the money is not already in your bank account, and if you can't normally afford that thing, please do not put on your credit card. Please do not, right? Simply just use your credit card to buy things you can already afford. You already have the money in your bank. You know, oh, I get paid next week. No, none of that. If you don't have the money in the bank, you cannot afford it. Simple as that. You have to be disciplined, because it's a double-edged sword with credit cards, because it can be a great thing that can literally help you make hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And of course, you need it for a house or car in the future. But if you don't use it wisely and you just be irresponsible with it, you can get into a lot of credit card debt. And the average American is this way. They get about $7,000 worth of credit card debt. That's how much debt the average American has right now, right? But you have to understand, on this channel, I'm trying to teach you, if you subscribe and come back to the future uploads, I'm trying to teach you how to become, what I said in the beginning, more than the average person, right? More valuable than the average person, more valuable than the average person in your age range, in your age group, right? I want to teach y'all how to become the best versions of yourself, right? So that means having better habits, spending habits, because literally to be wealthy in life, you need strong spending habits, right? Great with spending and budgeting, so you don't. Spending habits isn't don't spend money, not spend more money, right? But literally, I want y'all to understand, if your parents is doing it, it doesn't mean anything, right? Your parents, friends, and family members, if this person is not super successful in the eyes of, hey, they're on the top 5% of the world, and income wise, then whatever they say means nothing, right? You're going to college, for example, to learn from a professor who's never ran a business, right? How is your parents going to teach you how to become a doctor if they're not doctors themselves? You see what I'm saying? That's the same concept here. When they're trying to teach you, hey, do this, do what? How? You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to let you know, sometimes in life, you can't listen to everybody that's around you, because they're like everybody else. There's a 99%, a 95%, there's a 5%, a 1%. Right? You want to be in a group of the 1%. You can't always take advice from these people in the 95, 99%. I'm not telling you guys to listen to your parents. I'm just saying, hey, you have to make sure you're doing a lot of research, which we can, we talked about credit. If y'all want more in-depth video about credit, I get more into that. But just to kind of wrap it up so I can move on to the next thing. make sure you get your first secured credit card, start using it, spend no more than 30%. So if you have $1,000, don't spend more than $300 every single month, and it always paid off in full by the end of the due date. Right now, with your credit card, there's 2 dates you have to be aware of. There's the credit due date and the close date. The due date is when you have to pay it off to the credit card company so they don't charge you interest, right? And they don't put a late fee on top of that, right? So as long as you pay it off, you're good. But sometimes the close date is simply when they report it to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus is who sees your credit report. They're the people that essentially manages your credit report. It's the credit agencies, technically, right? So they are the one that reports it to to your actual credit report. So there's 3 of them, the credit agencies. There's the TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, right? These are 3. You have a credit report on all of them, right? Because some banks report to some banks don't report to some, right? So there are going to be 3 different credit scores, right? Now, you want to definitely try to get into the 700s. That's really good. If you're in the 700s, you're good, right? With a nice, good credit profile, meaning that you're going to have a couple different credit cards. If your parents have a credit card, you can ask them, hey, mom, how much balance do you have in your credit card? If it's below 10%, 20%, ask them, hey, can you please add me in your credit card as an authorized user, right? But the close date, you need to know, because you can simply just download Credit Karma. It will tell you in the Credit Karma when it was reported to the credit bureaus. Right now, you have to pay attention to these dates because, like I said, you want to make sure you're using less than 30%. Right? They will essentially drop your credit score if you use over that amount and have a report to it. Right? So the more you use, the more, and if it starts going over 10%, it reports it negatively. Essentially, it drops your credit score. So you want to make sure you're staying at least below that 10%. And all this simply means is, if your due date is on the 20th or the 30th, right, don't use that credit card again until you know when your close date is. If your close date is on the 1st, guess what? You just can't use it, or actually you just can't you can't pay it off and then use it, because whatever balance is there by the 1st is gonna report that, even though you just paid it off in full on the 30th. If, for example, on the 30th is your due date and your close date is on the 7th, anything you spend within from the 30th to the 7th will be reported if you keep that balance on by the 7th. So you have to make sure everything, if your close date is on the 7th, but your due date is on the 30th, make sure you pay off, or you don't even use your credit card for the next 7 days, right? So as simple as that, because whatever is on there by the close date is what the credit bureaus are going to see. And sometimes it's a few days to a week, stretched out. And some people don't be knowing, like, hey, I paid off my credit card in full. Why is my credit score still low? Is because you're still maxing out the credit card again by this close date, right? So another thing to move on, right? So, once again, do this, help you get the car, that house that you want. And the next thing is, like I said, I want y'all to be better than the average person. So start learning a lot from YouTube University. YouTube has a lot of things. YouTube is what helped me make my first 6 figures. Be able to network with a lot of high-level individuals and be able to take my business to the next level, just going on YouTube, learning, watching videos. I learned how to grow over 100K followers on TikTok from YouTube. Literally just watching YouTube, right? So learn from YouTube University, start researching on habits, all right? Because I want you to start learning about your mindset, right? Because I want y'all to know that you can accomplish anything in the world that you put your mind to. But because of that, it's once again a double-edged sword. That means if you have negative thoughts in your mind, you could possibly manifest those negative things because that's all you're thinking about. Right? You have to train your mind in a way you only want to manifest the best things in your life, because anything you can imagine, anything you can fathom in your mind, before anything was ever created in this world, right? Before phones were created, it was imagined in a person's brain first, right? It was imagined there. It starts in the brain. So you have to make sure you take control of your mind. There's something called your subconscious mind, right? Something called your subconscious mind. If you can train your subconscious mind to work for you on autopilot, that is the best possible scenario, right? Because your subconscious mind is always doing stuff. That's your habits, right? You doing random stuff. Oh, I just be doing stuff, right? That's your subconscious mind. So you can train your subconscious mind to want to show you how to be successful in life. And how you do this is by repetition. Keep doing stuff over and over and over. I think the average person needs to do something, 36 times over and over. Repetitive, repetition, and then it becomes a habit, right? I believe that's the number or something like that. Don't quote me on that, right? But start doing stuff, and it's going to have your subconscious mind working on these things and showing you. Even if you have no idea how you can become successful, start believing it, writing it down. Every single day, write it down, refer back to it. So maybe start practicing meditation or something like that. You don't need to do meditation, but at least write down your goals and have that vision board, and then start speaking it out. I want you to record videos of yourself talking about what you're going to accomplish, because I want y'all to understand, guess what? If you're just graduating high school, you're a senior in high school, what just happened? I bet high school felt like it just flew past. You probably went to high school like, hey, I can't wait to graduate. Now you're like, dang, I'm already graduating. Time is gonna fly. Simple as that. Time is gonna fly. And it may feel long, but when it comes, it's gonna be like, dang, this was just yesterday, right? So go with everything at your own pace, but I want you to plan for the future. When I was 15 years old, I was planning for when I was 30. When I was 15 years old, I was planning for when I'm 20. I was planning for when I'm 30. I was planning for when I'm 40. Right? Why? Because of the fact that I know the time is going to come. I started thinking of ways of how I can change my situation. So when I have the kids, I still don't even have kids right now. When I have kids at 20, 25 years old, 30 years old, I'm prepared. Right? So I thought about it. I'm like, hey, I'm seeing my parents. I'm seeing family. I'm seeing friends going through back and forth. Hey, I got to take my kids to the daycare. Family are frustrated. I'm literally seeing families switch shift. Hey, I'm working 6 to 2. You work 3 to 10, and then we switch off. It's just I'm like, what? By the time you come back home, your wife or husband is sleeping. I'm thinking about all these things at 15 years old, watching on movies. I'm like, yo, I'm seeing it around me. I'm like, I have to plan for this, because eventually I'm gonna have to live through this life, right? I can't. I'm not thinking, hey, this is a long time ago. I'm like, I'm planning now, because time is your best friend, right? Time is your best. Time is the most valuable thing we have in this world, right? Time is worth more than any amounts of money, because think about it in this perspective. If I told you right now, I'll give you $1 million, but you die tomorrow, would you take it? Absolutely not. 9 times out of 10, you probably won't take it. Why? Because you won't have time. You only have 24 hours to spend it, right? You will lose out on your friends and family and everything like that, all the time to enjoy the world. You won't take it. If I told you $1 billion, but you gone the next day, you're not going to take it, right? So we have time. Start planning for your future, because the future will come, right? So start thinking now, hey, what does my life look like when I'm 20? What does my life look like when I'm 25? How many kids do I have, right? What kind of car am I driving, right? What kind of house am I living in? When I'm 30, what kind of house am I driving? I mean, not driving. What kind of house am I in? Huh? What kind of car am I driving? Right? Do I even have a house? Do I even have wife and kids? Do I start planning, because time is your best friend when you have all that time? Because look, people overestimate what they can accomplish in a month and a year, and underestimate what they can accomplish in 5-10 years. Right? The 5-10 years is gonna come. Look how fast high school flew by. High school is only 4 years. Look how fast that flew by. What did you do during that time? What did you do? Are you a better person from when you was a freshman to a senior? Are you a better person from when you was in 6th grade to a senior? From 6th grade to freshman year? Are you making improvements? Are you changing the habits? That addiction you say you're gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? That P addiction you say you're gonna stop. Are you still on that? You got to think about these things, right? You're like, I'm going to do it next year. A lot of people, I can't stress it enough. The average person is not on nothing. If you do what the average person is doing, you're going to end up an average person. And that was the thing I knew from the jump. I always, instead of me thinking about how can I be doing what these 25-year-old, 30-year-olds are doing, I'm just worried about my average age range. The average person at 18 years old, they're probably goofing off, going to parties and all that. I'm like, hey, let me do this. Let me do that. Let me do this. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been times where, I relapse, fall into certain things and stuff like that. But I've always known, hey, how can I be better than my average age range? Just for me, though. It was really just for me. So if you think about it like that, that's been one of the most powerful assets I've had in my mind. And thinking, hey, how can I be better than my average age range? How can I accomplish more than my average age range? I'm literally searching up things like, how much money has the average person in my age range saved? How much income do they make on a monthly basis? What have they accomplished, right? Instead of thinking, hey, there's so much, just do what the average person is doing in your age range. Instead of worrying about, hey, there's these 20-year-olds making millions of dollars. What is the average person doing at your age, and how can you be better? That's what worked for me. What is the average person doing in my age range, and how can I be better? I always strive to be the best in my age range. At 15 years old, I bought my first car, and it was all mine. Like, I literally bought it with my own money. I literally went and bought it with my own money. I'm like, the average person at 15 years old was not buying a car. Right? I didn't have a license yet. Right? I got my license at 16 years old. The average person at 16 years old do not have a license. Some people might have it, but the average person, that's what I'm talking about, right? So I just want to leave y'all off with that. So building your credit, getting your mindset right, start manifesting your goal, start planning for the future, right? It's going to come. Right now, make sure you subscribe to my account. I'm dropping a lot more content like this. I just want to use this account to kind of just talk about everything that's on my mind. That's what I want to use the account for. Just talk about what's on my mind, just info dumping. So no edits on this account. I don't do no edits. Don't quote me on that. You know, I don't want to do edits, but I do want to throw some vlogs in here. Maybe vlogs might have some edits. I don't know. But if y'all enjoyed this, let me know. This is a concept I'm not really looking to get too many views. I just want to just dump, and I hope it finds the right audience, because I just want to educate people on the things that I was missing at 18 years old. I was missing in high school. I just want to just help y'all elevate to the utmost, right? And that's the targeted audience on this account, younger people who try to get to the next level. And I just want to just help y'all as much as possible. All right, so if you stick around to the very end, I really appreciate it. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.